Hey guys, it's the Critique Partners, and we're back with another episode.
We've got some tips and useful information to get started on writing your first fantasy novel.
So stick around.
I'm Killian, and I'm a developmental editor and have over 15 titles published.
And I'm CJ, author, artist, and I eat, sleep, and breathe storytelling. We're Critique Partners, and we're here to explore and discover the art of story.
From beginning to end.
From inspiration
to hitting publish.
Hey guys, we're back with another episode, and we're talking about where to get started when you want to write your first fantasy novel. So let's get started. Okay.
Let's get started.
All right, so Killian, you're looking lovely today.
So are you?
Let's talk about approach. So if you're starting from scratch and you're a first-time author, or you want to be a first-time author, where do you even start? Where do you begin your approach to writing a fantasy novel?
So I would suggest, actually, before you start really typing out your novel, to think about the type of novel you want to write and start researching that subgenre on Amazon, in Barnes and Nobles, wherever you really like to read, and start finding the top selling authors in your subgenre and start reading a lot of books.
So can name a couple of subgenres just so that.
Okay, so we're talking about fantasy here, right? So what's a subgenre? And this is really important, and I'm glad that you're bringing it up, because I know that when I first started writing, it was very blatant, like, oh, I want to write a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
The types of books I was reading were Clive Barker, Stephen King, a lot of older authors and things that I grew up with, David Gemmell, David Eddings, Terry Goodkin, and all of these are really great. And maybe they inspired you, like they inspired me to start writing your own story, but it is from a different era. And writing has changed drastically. And even though there are still readers out there who love those books,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to stand out in the crowd now and start actually making money from your writing and turning this into your career, then this is marketing 101 here. You need to check out what's in the market of today.
Oh, so that's very interesting. So you're bringing up
marketing, right? right. It's like, wait a minute, but we're talking about writing.
And tell past Christina is have a clue, have an idea about who you're writing to and what they read.
That's exactly it. So you asked me, what about subgenres, right? Okay, but that's where you start. You start going and you start researching, well, what are popular subgenres of today? Mm-hmm. And you're going to get subgenres of all of the eras, but start categorizing them, all of them. We have paranormal romance.
Right. Historical fiction.
Right? We have historical fantasy. We're talking about fantasy. So we have historical fantasy, and it's also very important to know the difference between historical fiction and historical fantasy. Start doing your research.
Right.
Urban fantasy. What's the difference between urban fantasy and paranormal romance?
Right.
There's subtle differences, but there's a big one, and that's the romance aspect. One's a subplot, the other one is the main plot.
Yeah.
Romantasy. Oh, here's a big one, but what's a paranormal romance versus a romantasy, right? There's a lot of different tropes and themes that go into each. Some of them may overlap, and some of them may overlap, but be different. They're different types of overlapping. So really knowing what kind of story you want to write and understanding the genre, understanding the readers who read that subgenre so that you understand the reader expectations.
Right.
What you are going to be putting into your book. I cannot emphasize this enough, because when I first started, I didn't have anybody to tell me that. I didn't know to do that kind of research. And I wrote a book thinking it was a good old adult fantasy, and the editor got back to me saying, this sounds very YA, practically maybe middle grade, even though there were elements that would not belong in middle grade,
Right.
but it was the tone, you know, and it
So
had
going into it blindly, right, which can actually present a lot of additional challenges later on in the game. A
yeah,
big tip, a really big tip is, what she's saying right now is you might be inspired by, I was inspired, love Sanderson and Robin Hobb and like Ivy, it's like all the books that not that Sanderson isn't current, but a lot of books that aren't current. But it's a
right.
really good idea to kind of like
Well, and
genres.
Sanderson also is it's his own thing, even though Sanderson is epic fantasy and
Mhm.
he gives great writing advice, guys. He
Yeah.
gives amazing, phenomenal writing advice. But it is important to know that Sanderson can do whatever Sanderson wants to do because he is Sanderson,
Like Stephen King, right?
like Stephen King.
And niching, so like niching down too, that can be helpful just before you even get out of the gate and start writing, kind of knowing what you want to write. And it's like, I do want to write an epic fantasy, but it's worth a trip down the rabbit hole in your Amazon categories to
Oh,
find the smaller categories that are still you're going to be satisfied. You're still going to be writing fantasy, but it might be helpful for you to just have a direction of where you're going to land or where your goal is to land, and then be able to, kind of read the more current books,
yeah.
see what's out
And
there in the market.
indie current books. Amazon, I know I mentioned Barnes and Nobles before because when you're first starting out, go anywhere that you like to read. But
Mhm.
if you want to be indie, then I suggest what Christina just said is hit up those Amazon categories because there are 6 and 7 figure indie authors,
Yeah.
and those are the books of those subgenres that you want to pick up because they have whale readers. A whale reader is someone who reads and reads and reads, and they read fast and they'll read everything that those authors put out. And those are your target audience if you are looking to write in those particular subgenres.
Yep, this is a really good tip because you're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort on your first book, and it'll be really great if you actually have readers that are going to read it after you write it.
It
So
really gives you some direction. It's like you know where you're gonna put your book in
mhm.
before you even write it. So
Yeah,
you know already that there is a pool of people, of readers that are possibly going to like your book, given that you put out something professionally done.
yeah, and read different genres. You
Yeah.
might think you want to go. You might think you'll belong in a genre, and then you'll read some of the top 10 books in that genre, and you won't like it. So
Yeah, because things
yeah,
change, and sometimes, and it's also important to read a lot of them because you also might run into something like that and not realize that, no, this is just a trend.
yeah, yeah, and
And paranormal romance is evergreen. It's been here since the beginning and people love it and it's got such a strong readership that it's not going anywhere. But there might be some trends within that subgenre. If you pick up the first 5 books and it's on that trend because they're popular right now, that
right.
doesn't mean, oh, stay away from paranormal romance because you're not going to like it. No, it means keep reading because the look at the authors who have been here for a long time and they're still indie. They are indie. And look to see what they're doing and things that are just subjects or themes that are just evergreen. I can't speak today. Because just because you might hit up some fads that you don't like doesn't mean that the subgenre is ruined forever or anything
Okay,
like
that's a
that.
good point.
Yeah, there are still readers out there who like traditional vampire romance and werewolf romance or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's by reading the books too, you kind of like you train your data set,
Right,
what the reader expectations are and what kind of feels right and what feels off,
right.
etc. Okay, so now let's talk about one of the hardest things for me when I first started out was just um organizing my ideas. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so I kind of like, oops, I sort of knew where I was going and I knew the end of the story, I knew the middle. There was just a whole mess of stuff. And I know everyone's process is different, but I am curious to inquire about your process. How do you approach your stories? Is there any software you use
So,
or?
well, there are so many different things I have tried in the past. So I
Mhm.
don't want to mention one thing and be like, oh, this is like my thing. This is like what I always do because it's not always what I do. I try out different things and see what feels better. Recently I like OneNote because first of all, I think it's because I have a Mac. I turn on my computer and boom, OneNote pops up and I see where I left off. I see all of my ideas, and you can kind of create, if you want to say chapters, but just kind of create like little categories, and then those categories you can open up another folder, and then you
OneNote
can.
is Microsoft or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's Microsoft OneNote. I used to use Scrivener.
That's what I use.
And I like Scrivener to write, but for some reason for me, it becomes messy when I'm organizing ideas.
Okay.
And I especially like Scrivener when I don't have internet. So if I'm writing on Scrivener, everything, I back it up to my
Yeah.
drive. But if I'm on an airplane or if I'm not using internet somewhere or whatever, I'm not freaking out because I can't access my Google Docs or something because everything is in my Scrivener and I'm writing in my Scrivener.
Right.
Um, Something I will mention though that I do like for just idea dropping
Mm-hmm.
is it's an app called Trello. And you can have it on your computer on desktop and on your phone as an app. So I can show you this.
Yeah, tell
And
us what it does because I've never heard of Trello.
so yeah, if you go to trello.com,
Mm-hmm.
you can just open up a free account and you create basically like they're like little flashcards.
Mm-hmm.
So they look like this,
Oh,
and you
okay.
put one idea, and then you
Yeah.
can jot down ideas, and then you can open up one flashcard, and you can keep writing in there, right?
Oh, okay. Very
And
cool.
then you just kind of like they're boards, so you
Yeah.
just kind of like create all of these as many ideas as you want, and
That
then
sounds like some I would like because as we know, Christina likes to take actual index cards and tape them all over my walls.
that's right. And I used to do that too.
Yeah.
I used to do that back in, back in the old days. That's how I learned how to do research is like you use index cards and then like you're flipping through books and you're writing down,
Yeah.
uh
No, I have actual scene cards.
scene cards, yeah.
Now I have even more POVs. So like I was gonna color coordinate my yarn, so maybe I'll give Trello a shot.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the physical way that you organize them. What's structure of story do you find yourself will be, let me rephrase. What structure of story do you think will be the simplest for somebody who's new to get started with? Like a 3 act,
Oh, okay.
5 act?
So that's fun. 5 act. So I do like the 3 act structure, but I like to take the second act and split
Mhm.
it in two. Even though it is still the second act, it's like after you get to the end of the first act where you have that inciting incident and your character has like gone back and forth and say, no, I'm not going to do this, and then something happens to change your mind, and here we are with the hero's journey, and they get launched into act two.
Okay, and we'll do another
Well,
episode about structure and 3 act structure, but
yes. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that in more detail. But then when you're in Act Two, well, Act Two tends to be the longest.
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of writers get kind of stuck in that murky middle and
Yeah,
they don't know how to make things interesting. They don't know or they get confused, not confused, but they kind of lost maybe.
yeah.
Like your character gets lost. It's like, okay, well, what's supposed to happen now? When is this supposed to end? And you can either get someone who kind of like the story just keeps going and going and going. And when you get to editing, it's like, hey, we don't need any of these chapters.
Yeah, the terrible twos. That's a
The
thing.
terrible twos, the terrible
Terrible
act
twos.
two.
Yeah, terrible
So
act
what
two.
I, yeah, so what I like to do is when you get to the first part of Act Two, and this is not written in stone, it depends
Mm-hmm.
on your story. But when I like to get to Act Two, here we go to the fun and games portion. Your character now is in a new situation, whether it's a new world, new dimension, or just a new life situation or whatnot. This is where you put in the reason why readers pick the book up. In Harry Potter, now it's like you're in Hogwarts
Uh-huh.
and there's not just magic because we've already seen that, but it's the lessons, it's the
Yeah.
professors, it's the introductions, and look how cool you can learn how to do this and you
Yeah.
can learn how to do that. And it's like that, wow, that wonder, right? Like your eyes are that big, like look at all of this. That's Act Two.
Yeah.
The big,
And
but
there's a lot of movement of your character's arc in Act Two, right?
right,
Like, you know,
yeah,
that's where you get to kind of write in your challenges, write in your things that are developing. And so kind of knowing the beat points of like,
yeah,
how you're getting your character from their personal arc from point A
right,
to point Z, a lot of
right.
it
And then
happens during Act Two.
as you start dropping in the conflicts, right? So in the beginning of Act Two, possibly your main character is meeting or getting to know the villain and and depending on your story, because you may have met the antagonist in the beginning, you may have
Mhm.
heard of the villain from the beginning, but here we really are dropping in those intros. When things start getting serious and your character is in a dire situation where they need to make their next big move, split that. Now we are in Act 2.2.
So this is kind of like a midpoint climax.
Yeah, midpoint climax, and it's rising to that conflict and that
Right.
rising action. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, and then when you get to that second portion of Act Two, now it's like the final, where we're leading up to the final scenes. You're
Yeah.
preparing for battle, or things are starting to uncover. You may have revealed a mystery,
Right.
and things are getting really interesting.
They're escalating.
They're
Yeah.
escalating.
Yeah. So your
So we're
first half
getting
of
ready to go down before
yes,
Act
our first
Three.
half of Act Twos, we have, we're kind of coasting, we're getting to know the world, we're moving the character arcs, the fun and games portion,
Right,
and then we're building up to a midpoint climax, and then we're escalating to the final climax, which would be
right,
happening in the next,
in the next.
kicking off the next act. Okay, so you would suggest, as would I, keeping it simple with a 3-act story structure when
Yeah.
you're writing your first novel. Okay, so far we have do your future self a favor and know what genre you're writing in. Understand your genre, get to know your genre, train your data sets into the reader expectations, read in the genre. Um, and when you write your story, start with the 3-act structure. There's plenty of stuff to look up online. We will also do a show.
Well,
Okay,
we'll get more into detail on what goes where and different kind of plots.
okay. So this next question, I know you're going to look forward to answering as a developmental editor, but what are the biggest mistakes that you see new writers making when they first start out?
Oh, one of the biggest ones, I mean, and we practically just covered it, is really not knowing the book that the genre that your book should belong to.
Mhm.
I've received manuscripts where the authors, and I mean, I made this rookie mistake too when it was first starting. So
Yeah.
this isn't like, oh my God, this is like horrible, but it's more of like, okay, well, what do we do now? You
Yeah,
know,
like what I had to do, kind of like back myself into a seat, you know what I mean? And try
right.
to figure out, and I had to go
And
back and change some stuff.
and you end up learning so much, but that's basically it, just not knowing where your book fits in. And it's paying for an editor and saying, hey, I have written um a horror novel. And okay, cool. And after the edits, it's like this is actually not horror at all. It's actually, I don't know, a cozy mystery. Something completely different. And sometimes that can be heartbreaking to the writer because they have their heart set on becoming this horror author
Yeah,
or romance author, whatever name your genre. And
yeah,
it's like, well, if you wanted to write a romance, you actually don't have a meet cute
right.
at all. Or, or your
And
meet
that's going
cute
to
is
save
in
a lot of
chapter
time and
10.
heartache. Yeah.
Right. You've gotten 15, 20,000 words before there's a meet cute, and there's been all of these other characters, and I've
There's
been wondering who is the partner of your character.
so there's another 20,000 words before. So do
Right.
you suggest that a brand new writer start to I know we have the pantser versus the plotter or the planter, but what do you think? So somebody who has no idea what their process is,
Yeah.
what's a good place to kind of dip their toes? Would it be like just sitting down and just free form writing?
Mhm.
Would it be, researching story beats, different types of like either Save the Cat or there's different types of beats out there, beat sheets, what?
So I think that you and I both know authors who
Hmm.
researched all of those beat sheets before they even start writing.
Hmm.
And we also know people who just start writing their book.
Yeah,
Um, there is not, you know, a one way approach to this. People learn so many different ways, and they've heard so much advice from different people throughout their
hmm,
lives. Like I grew up with just start writing.
yeah,
Um, and then I did the research after, which could have saved me a lot of time had I done it before. But at the same time, I also developed creativity and skills. You know, what I wouldn't want to happen is for someone to get so stuck in that beat sheet mindset that they don't know where to go next.
right.
You know, because it's like you can write yourself into a corner and then say, well, but the beat sheet says I need to do this, and I don't know how to get my character from point A to point,
Yeah,
D, you know. Um, so and then that's gonna snuff the fun and the creativity out of it.
right.
So I wouldn't say like, yeah, do beat sheet research. Definitely just read a lot in your genre so
Yeah,
that you can see the diversity and see, well, this author, took the beat sheet and did this. And this is also possible, and look how successful this was.
yeah.
But putting pen to paper or typing also doesn't mean that you should publish the first thing you write.
Oh, nobody wants to hear that though.
I know. And that is a hard truth.
Yeah.
But remember that in the beginning, just like with everything else, you are learning.
And you
So
can always, it's not that you have to trash the idea. Like,
yeah,
you remember when I first started writing my book? I
yeah,
mean,
but
it's a
you wrote that
completely
same
different
book
book
like 10
now.
times. And
Exactly,
it's a
exactly.
completely different book.
Yeah.
So
I
you
never
did
abandoned
not.
the idea, but I
Yeah.
had to throw away the first versions that I came up with because they would, I had to learn, they were really a
And
learning
you
experience.
did not publish the first thing you wrote because the book now is so completely different. Even the main character, even though he's got the same name, he's got a whole different
Yeah.
personality.
One thing I can
You know?
guarantee is your writing will, if you practice, your writing will change. It will change a
Oh, yeah.
lot in like a year's time. You know, I
Doing it every day. Yes.
one thing
Practice.
that I kind of noticed because I've gone out and I'm like I was so psyched. I am so psyched on like the whole indie author thing and like supporting other authors and getting their stuff and I think I kind of took for granted like assuming that everybody put as much time and I don't know, blood, sweat
In tears. Yeah.
is into their debut novel, like as I did. I kind of just assumed, and I didn't. I kind of went out and just started getting all these indie novels, and I was like, the marketing was on point. You know what I mean? Like the design was on point. It was so
Really great.
professional. It looked like the marketing and design, they're all making promises that what's inside is going to be good. And then when I got
Oh yeah.
inside, I was like, what the, you know what I mean?
Oh
And I
yeah.
won't, I don't give bad reviews. So I just,
Okay, so you know what? That is also a really good another point to make, mistakes that I see authors make. They put so much money and emphasis on their cover and not enough in their book.
like if
I
your
have
social media
seen,
posts are better
yeah,
than your first chapter, like you might be a little bit out of balance with where you're focusing your energy.
I have seen new authors spend so much time building their audience on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
and which is phenomenal. Great. You've done great marketing on TikTok. And they get like, so many readers downloading arcs, that you're giving away the book for free, you're downloading arcs, and you might even be getting sales from TikTok. And so you have bought an expensive flashy cover, and you've slapped that on an unedited manuscript.
Oh my gosh. Unedited. No.
Okay. And what do I mean by editing? I don't mean, oh, grammar check. I
Yeah.
don't mean you hired a proofreader.
Yeah.
I don't even mean you hired a
Go
copy
back and
editor.
watch our video about
Okay.
developmental editing. It's such a huge part of the learning process, especially for your first novel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
And maybe you're
yeah,
marketing a book to the wrong audience. Maybe you're giving so much shit for free that people are kissing your ass because they don't want to say this book sucked, because they want your next free merch. Okay, and then the real reviews start coming in on Amazon and on Goodreads, and you're wondering, oh crap, well, whatever, reviews come in, a lot of them are bad, not everybody has to like it. And
yeah,
that's true. However, are you paying attention? Because this is your first book
yeah. So
and
don't
mistakes are
like
gonna happen.
don't
So,
don't rush it. Don't put the cart before the horse. Like the
yeah,
marketing you're
you
doing
know,
when you're researching what genre to put your book in, that is marketing. And
I
that's
have
you're
opened
already
books
doing
up.
marketing.
I have opened
Don't
books up,
put
and I
yeah,
am really sorry to say this because I don't want to be an asshole. But I think we can curse on here, sorry. But you know, it's garbage.
yeah,
I'll open the book up and it's like a freaking, I don't know, it's like a two-page inner monologue, and there's been no action, no character interaction. Everything is being told,
yeah.
and it might even be like just completely off base of the subgenre, and it might read as cute to a fellow friend, but to the masses it's like, oh, I don't want to read indie anymore. Ew.
And that
And
it
that
does, it hurts the indie author community as a
it
whole when
does.
you do that. So
It
investing the same time into like not the same time, investing a lot more into the craft
hmm
that maybe some people are because they're in that rush and they're so because marketing is really challenging and it's like to get seen in a sea of books and a sea of voices is hard and that is its own unique and separate challenge, but writing the book is probably the bigger challenge and it really needs to be good. You know, the
yeah,
book needs to be good and don't write in a bubble. And you can see our other videos about getting out of that bubble
being out of the
when you're
bubble.
writing. So you can get, more eyes on your work, more critiques on your work, because it's
Yeah.
the only really way to get better. So don't be in a rush.
And now it's harder because now we have writers who are like, oh, well, let me just tell AI how to write this scene for me.
No.
Lo and behold, that doesn't get
I
edited.
don't get it because AI is like, I have like for shits and giggles, just, you know what I mean? Just like given prompts for like, just to see what it would even come up with.
You know what?
It's
Yeah,
not, it's so dumb. I don't understand. It's so it's like it's not, it's terrible. If you're
yeah,
using it,
robot.
I'm not
Well,
here for
it's
the
being
controversy, but
fed, it's being fed a way to speak, and it's only given a certain data set of how to speak.
it's just
So it's
that
regurgitating
shit.
the same
It's
thing over and over and over. Not the same words over and over and over, but I'm saying the same rhythm. It's an algorithm,
oh my
right?
gosh,
It's
yeah.
saying it's like, how many times have you seen ads on Facebook right now? Because this is where my brain is going to. It's like every ad out there, it doesn't matter if it's National Geographic, it doesn't matter if it's for the zoo, it doesn't matter if it's for writers, it doesn't matter what it is. It's blah, 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 no fluff, period. Just blah, M dash, blah, blah.
It's like there's a specific rhythm to its
Yeah,
writing. It's homogenous. It all sounds the same. It's
yeah.
cannibalizing itself at this
Yeah.
point.
And nobody's editing it either.
Yeah.
It's like how many times have I seen no fluff, period, blah, period,
Yeah.
M dash. It's like, come on,
So
guys.
that's the biggest mistake that you can make as a writer is outsourcing your writing to AI, honestly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that wasn't a thing, like, AI wasn't rolling like that when I started.
yeah.
This all happened relatively fast with AI, but the worst thing that you can do if you want to be an author is to not
It,
be an author. And
it,
that,
yeah.
and like honestly, if you're outsourcing any part of the learning process to AI, like you're not learning. You're
It
not
turns
learning. All
me
it takes
off
is a
with
power
the
outage and you're not a writer anymore.
it turns me off with the ads too, because it's like the person who made it didn't care enough. They just wanted to bring this ad out quickly. And I get it. It's an ad, and it does cut time. But man, they're not even editing it. Because I get
Yeah.
it. If you want to do something like, I don't even care, a blog, right? You're focusing on SEO. This is your main
Yeah.
focus with like marketing, ads, stuff
Like
like
I
that.
don't care, use it for your stupid marketing. I don't give a shit if you're
Yeah.
posting and you're like whatever, but not for your book. You're not there goes my dog. You're not going to learn how to be a writer if you're using AI to write your book for you or to come up with ideas, honestly. Like I know people use it for brainstorming, but we got to be really careful. We have to be really careful, and that's the fine line of discernment. I think that we have to, not even as new writers, but
Mhm,
all human brains, honestly, be
mhm.
careful because the same way that like our moms can remember a
I
telephone number, but
yeah.
we can't, or some people can still open up an atlas and travel, but I need to use a GP like our brains
Yeah, if we
will
stop
start to
using our
atrophy.
brains for things like that, then
It's like, oh, I'm just using it to generate ideas, and then I do the actual writing. Okay, but be really careful.
but damn, where do your ideas come from? You know what I mean? It's like human ideas.
Yeah.
Shit. I mean,
I know your
Tim
brain's not
Burton.
a muscle,
Think
but
about people who we love,
yeah,
like to watch and
right,
read their stories.
right,
Tim Burton, Stephen King. They never had AI. AI is regurgitating these ideas and
yeah,
throwing them out there. And
yeah,
sometimes, man, you can just tell.
yeah. And just be careful. Be careful thinking you're not gonna be harmed by not working out that
Yeah.
muscle of problem solving. When we start outsourcing our problem solving to another mind, that means that we're not getting the exercise. And it's okay, but I'm doing the writing myself. Okay, so write yourself, and you got a strong forearm, but your bicep is weak as hell, and you still can't pick something up. So that was my metaphor. Okay, so I think that's a good chunk for people to chew on for now. And join us next time. We're going to talk about character, plot. We got a whole bunch of other good stuff coming up for you. And that's it. We'll see you
All
soon.
right.
Bye.
Awesome. Bye.
Hey guys, if you want to check out some fantasy novels written by the Critique Partners, check out our author links below. If you're interested in developmental editing or other author services like book trailers, check out the Grimm House Pub link. And if you'd rather just hire a ghostwriter and outsource it all, then check out Legacy Publishing. Link in the description. See you next time.